Hello, this is John with Theology Ed. You Should Have Left. That's the title of a film that will be released on June 19th, so this week, in just a few days. It is a Kevin Bacon film. It looks like it was sort of rushed out. It's being released on demand everywhere, but the trailer was only released this week. So, they're in a rush to get this one out. And the title, of course, is sort of a giveaway. It's like, well, this looks like something that's communicating a message. You should have left. We've already seen that they have one that says, Get Out, from Jordan Peele. And Get Out, of course, we've seen, which has coded dates in the title. So you have your lunar font here for Get, and the GET represented 7/5/20, the July 5th buck moon. That's so important, that comes up so often. The G is 7, E is 5, T is 20, and Out representing the annular eclipse with this outline form font, looking like the annular eclipse ring of fire, where you just have an outline of the sun, basically. And that one, the 15 is the 6, so you have 6/21/20. That's the annular eclipse date this year. So we have Get Out by these dates, and now it's getting to be June 19th, and they're saying, you should have left. You messed up. Now, this date range, this June 21st through July 5th, it comes up repeatedly, and I'm going to review it quickly like I normally do with these predictive programming videos, because I know new people come along who aren't familiar. This is it from a video, Be Ready, released, I don't even know, 8 years ago or so, 7, 8, I don't know, long time ago, several years ago. And he's flipping through looking for different attack targets, and he finds a date. And he comes across this date. He's looking from the other side of the glass, and we're seeing the backside. I flipped it for us. We have 3/11, that's your March 11th World Health Organization declaration of the pandemic. 6/21, that is your annular eclipse. 7/4, that's the buck moon night. 7/4, July 4th into July 5th. The buck moon is right after midnight, July 5th. But that night, 4th, 5th night, comes up repeatedly as the buck moon event night. So then what does he do? He points and says, run away. He selects that option. What? Sector, New York, water. So we get a water event and all of that. And it's like, that's the chosen attack. Timing and warning, and what you're supposed to do, get out. That's just like our get out. And if you're not out by June 21st, you should have left. Okay, so that's what they're saying. Now, we have other ones here. We, of course, have the iPet Go 2 calendar, where we have the 2020 calendar, January to December. We have the annular eclipse represented in the middle by the girl. She is the moon sitting on top of the solar disk, the yellow circle representing the sun. Right behind her is a buck, which is a male rabbit buck, representing the buck or stag moon that night of July 4th and 5th. And what do you find after that? Well, outside, just like the buck is looking over the second half of 2020, like he's angry, outside, the buck moon, there's your rat ears in the embrace of the demon, is looking down over catastrophes all over the place. And here's another moon with ears and legs looking down, as it were, over the catastrophes. So this marks a terrible time for them. They're warning people. Here it looks like. You get it in the movie Knowing, the vision. He looks out the annular eclipse. He gets the annular eclipse in the vision in the window. He looks out, the boy goes to look out the window, and he sees what? A burning stag when the whole world is burning. There's your stag moon representation. And then at the very end, when the solar flare destroys the world, Cage and his family are hugging as the window is going to break and they're going to be consumed. Well, there's a stag or a buck sketched in the art looking at them and everything. And of course, that same night, there's the buck that startles him and the buck rabbit. And right at midnight, the backwards 9/11 is pointing at the 7/5. So we get that. And then we have in Candyman, she has this jewelry on, which of course is the black sun representing the eclipse. This, in this case, looks like an annular eclipse again. And then you have inside it what? A buck, like the moon is the buck. And so you're looking at the eclipse plus the buck moon represented in the jewelry creatively. And then, of course, Candyman says, I am the writing on the wall. And then you go look at the wall in the trailer, and what do you get? You get a representation of the eclipse. You get Candyman with his mouth open like he's going to swallow you whole. And here Perry pointed out in the comments, you get the rabbit profile, the buck, and there's your explosion on the 4th. It looks like a July 4th represented here, but that's the just for fun graffiti. But again, it's going with the 4th here, the buck moon. We know the sequence already, so this is very familiar. It comes up repeatedly, and it's not even that hard to see anymore once you've identified it. It's there. They're clearly doing it now. So we're being told, get out and all these other things. But now it's getting very, very late, and many people who even know about this are still there, and they're saying, well, you should have left. But let's go ahead and look at it and see what do we actually find in this trailer. It's very interesting. We have the scene between a sequence between 30 seconds and like 34, 35 seconds in the trailer when the girl is in her bed. First time, the story, big picture first before we get into it. They're going on to basically a vacation house, and the house found them. In it's part of the narrative and part of the story. You can look at that, but the idea is they've been chosen perhaps because they're guilty of something, and this is their punishment, or I'm not sure. But the house finds them. They go, and it's a haunted house, and they can't get their way out after a certain point, because they're stuck there, and then they're stuck having to deal with the haunting. But they show up, and she is, making a shadow dog on the wall. She's barking. She's going, ruff, ruff, ruff. And so what we have here depicted is the black sun. There's your eclipse. And directly above it, we get the dog barking. This is your eclipse with the dog star Sirius in this conjunction or alignment as it approaches. Then the haunting, the ghost or whatever it is, because it's a trailer, I don't know the details. Whatever it is that's haunting them in the house steps in front and blocks Sirius, the dog here, and the dog disappears. And when the dog disappears, things get scary. So we get a very quick sequence here that goes from eclipse, dog star, to the point until the dog star finally disappears, and then things are bad. The dog star, of course, disappears when it's in the sky at the same time as the sun, and that's between July 3rd and August 11th. And we've discussed that in relation to iPetGo 2 because it comes up a lot of times, this alignment. In the Heliofont logo of iPetGo 2, there's your solar eclipse, the annular eclipse, and there is your dog star that comes over. On Obama's face, there's your eclipse. The mole is your dog star next to the sun. In the classroom calendar, the girl sitting on the sun is the eclipse, and there is the dog star. You follow it in, it takes you to where? July, August. Here is the annular eclipse, the June 21st eclipse represented again in a yin-yang, with the yang being the solar side, the yin being the lunar side, and we get a little bit of yin. And well, where's the little bit of yang, the little bitty sun? That's out here, the little sun about to be swallowed up by the big one. That is the representation of the sun with Sirius, the little sun, the second sun, being in the sky at the same time and sort of the light from Sirius being swallowed up in the light of the sun. And so we get the same thing. Then when Ra-Hoor-Khuit enters into the church, he's being swallowed. In Egyptian mythology, Nuit would swallow the sun every night and give birth to the sun every morning. Well, he's swallowed into Nuit. Nuit is the starry sky goddess, and right here is representing something in the starry sky, a star, Sirius. And interestingly, he moves forward in the scene, of course, and blocks out Sirius, and Sirius disappears. And it's at that point that the plasma strikes him, which I think probably could be, I'm not sure of this, but could be a representation of CERN causing an earthquake over there in Italy or somewhere in that area, which would destroy Rome. Just a possibility. I'll throw it out there while we're on it. Okay, but we can talk about that perhaps in another video. So let's add to these eclipse plus dog star, the scene here. Eclipse plus dog star, the same alignment right there. See it? The director had to tell the girl, put your hand up higher, higher, and get it just right there. Perfect. Make it a dog. And so you get your dog star with this alignment. But that's not all we get in this. Now we get to see when were we told to get out. Look, here he is. He's going to represent the moon, and there's the sun. And we're going to watch him gradually go over to eclipse it. So this is at 129. And at 131, they show him starting to eclipse it. And then what do you get? You get a message at 132. Leave. You should leave. Go now. Very clear, not very subtle. Not subtle at all. So, right, 131, he's starting to eclipse. It's getting close to the eclipse, June 21st. Go now. You should leave. This is unequivocal, right? Then at 135, we see him actually eclipsing the sun totally. Now we're getting the total eclipse. And look, his reflection isn't matching. You're seeing that things aren't right now. This is when things start to go wrong. After that, at 136, that's 135, 136 in the trailer, he's in bed, he's keeping his girl safe, and someone takes a picture of them, and we get this flash, like something happened. But look closely, she's sleeping with her stuffed bunny. Then, after this, we see her walking around with her bunny, and we are in the haunting times in the trailer now. And what's our next message? 140, 143, you should have left. Now it's too late. And that's why the title of the film is You Should Have Left. By the time you get to the buck moon, you should have left. You should leave now, right now, immediately, if it's around the eclipse. As you approach the eclipse, you're losing your chance to go, your final chance to get out. Go now. Don't wait. Don't look around. Don't plan. Go. That's what they're telling people. Okay? And then once you get to this point, you should have left. Now it's too late. And the film shows her again. She's still got her bunny as she walks around terrified, and she sees this ghost or demon or person who had been murdered by being drowned coming out of the water and scaring her and haunting them and trying to kill her father later in the trailer and all this. And when they try to escape, well, there's no way out. Everything is all messed up in the house. Notice the door isn't with the steps. It's like a labyrinth and a mess, and they just can't get out. And then we're told, you should have, 220. But at the end of the trailer, you should have left. And that is what it's all about. You should have left. And they're going to release that June 19th, so right before the eclipse. And that's the last warning, basically, it looks like. You should leave. Go now. Also, if somebody is into it, I would recommend taking a look at some of the letters in here. I think it's really interesting. Things are written in an odd way. I don't know what the significance is of the way it's written, but if you look closely at the way the E's are written, they look like an F with a 2, F2. That's, to me, what it looks like, but I'm not sure that's what it is. And you can take a look, like here, this is, when does it end? See how it looks like an F2? And they don't do that with every single one. If you go here, you have F2, it looks like an F2. But over here, the E looks like just a regular E. So I don't know, maybe it's just two people wrote differently, or I'm not sure. But something is probably going on with the way they're writing, because that's a really weird way to write your E's. There's also a weird way to write the N over here. This is sort of strange looking N. So anybody who's into decoding things like that, take a look at that, see if you can find something. Go to the trailer and see if you can find other little bit of writing. I'm not including everything in the that's in the trailer in these videos, so you'll probably find things and make some really interesting contributions. Here you go. This one I don't think is very difficult to interpret. It's as clear as there's an eclipse. You should leave right now. And then there's the bunny, the buck moon, and it's too late. You should have left. And that's the message. And you even get the summary of it in this really interesting sequence with the eclipse and the dog star. When the dog star disappears, it's done. All right. Like, subscribe, share. Take care. Blessings.